to the BBC, which has found itself at the centre of controversy following reports that the broadcaster continued to pay Huw Edwards his salary, nearly £500,000, despite knowing that he'd been arrested on suspicion of serious offences in November.
Well, this comes after Huw Edwards pleaded guilty at Westminster Magistrates Court to 3 counts related to making indecent images of children.
Well, he admitted to getting 41 images on WhatsApp, 7 of which were Category A. That's the most serious form of this type of imagery. Well,
in a statement, the BBC said he would have been sacked if he had been charged while still working for the corporation.
Criminal barrister Jerry Hayes joins us now. Jerry, good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
I want to ask you about the process going forward, but just on this point of principle, is it right that the BBC is getting criticised for this or not, in the sense that, you know, you are innocent until proven or admitting your guilt, and at the time, Mr. Edwards had just been arrested and not charged with anything. Does that make a difference in how the BBC responded?
Yeah, I mean, I blame the BBC for an awful lot of things, but I don't blame them on this one. As you rightly say, a man is innocent until proved guilty. And I don't think people should be cancelled simply because they've been arrested. Once they've been charged, different matter altogether. And I think the BBC, in their defence, say, well, actually, we were worried about Huw Edwards' his mental health. So if he'd committed suicide, the BBC would have said, the people would have criticised the BBC for being insensitive. So I think that is really a bit of a non-story, but people will take advantage of it to have a pop at the BBC. But I suppose the next question is to say, what's he going to get?
Well, yes. I mean, in a lot of these cases, of course, people don't actually serve time for this, or they have a suspended sentence, or face a shoppo or something of that nature. Is that what we're likely to see?
Oh, I think so. In cases like this, and believe it or not, 41 images is quite unusual. There are usually thousands and thousands of images. This is the first time the maximum is 10 years that you're going to get for that. Starting point for Category A, and it's moving images and young children. I think that's what really shocked people, really young children. And it would have involved, as its Category A, penetrative sex, which is beyond belief, but I'm afraid all too common. So again, what's he like to get? Starting point is a year, and then the range of sentence for these sort of offences, first time round, 26 weeks to 3 years. Take into account that he pleaded guilty at the earliest opportunity, a third off. Anything under 24 months, 2 years is suspendable territory, and the court has to be satisfied that this person is capable of rehabilitation. And I suspect he will get a sentence of, 12 months, suspended for 2 years, probably some unpaid work, and certainly going on a number of courses. But you see, some people will not make light of these offences because they'll say, well, they're just images. But a child has been abused. Huw Edwards abused them, but there's a market in this. And as long as people download this stuff, and downloading is really just pressing the button, and that's the offence. And the thing is, the aggravating feature is he didn't delete it. And that's something which could bump the sentence up. But I expect there'd be a suspended sentence here and a totally wrecked life.
Yeah, what a fall from grace. I think it is worth just clarifying that making indecent images, in terms of a legal definition, it is quite a broad definition, isn't it? It doesn't mean you actually have to make the videos or create them yourself. It can also include downloading it, can't it?
Well, exactly. It's what we call a strict liability offence, because you need 2 elements to be guilty of a crime: the actual doing of it, and then the thinking about the mental element of doing it. You don't need a mental element for this. If someone sends me an indecent photograph and says, oh, look at our holiday snaps. Well, I think they're holiday snaps. I press the button, and then there's indecent images, which are illegal. I've committed an offence. Now, if I delete it straight away, then that's good mitigation. They probably wouldn't do anything about it, although in some cases they have. It's a draconian law. But the whole idea is to stamp out the abuse of children, and it's right that happens.
I mean, within this WhatsApp conversation, and I'm looking at mitigating factors here. He did say, you know, is this legal? He did sort of question that. What would have been the right thing to do if he was going to pursue an argument of saying, well, I wasn't expecting this material? Should you go to the police under those circumstances and say, look what someone sent me?
Well, yes, and I think the really big question, which I think is the really big story, what on earth was he doing getting images from a convicted paedophile? The guy who sent in the images had 12 months suspended for exactly the same thing. Where did you get those images from? And I think it was a Sun story yesterday. But that's a big thing. I mean, how many of us know I don't know how to do it, to get hold of images from convicted paedophiles, unless you're in a small circle of people who swap those things. I'm not making any allegations, I just don't know. But we know he got these images from a person who is a convicted paedophile. That must be deeply troubling, and this is not the end of this particular story.
It's not. I mean, even if he doesn't receive a prison sentence, we've spoken about mitigating factors, haven't we? It's a fall from grace. His life will never be the same again. His professional life is ruined. And I imagine his name's going to be added to the sex offenders registry, isn't it?
Oh, of course, yes, there is that. And that'll be probably for 10 years. And he'd be barred from working with children. He'd have to tell the police where he's living and who he's seeing. He will not be able to have contact with children unless they've got the express permission of the parents or the police. I mean, it's pretty onerous stuff. But of course, everywhere he goes, and he's a face, everyone will look at him and think, oh, gosh, that's Huw Edwards, the paedophile. I knew him quite well, actually. I haven't seen him for years, but he was a young reporter in the House of Commons when I was a young backbencher. I always found him an absolutely charming chap. But you don't know people's dark secrets because they're not going to tell you.
No, it's very true. Jerry Hayes, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. I just find this immensely sad that someone who some of us know and the nation respected has done this, and has all this has come out and he's done it, and it's
well, he's one
shocking.
of the most familiar and respected faces, isn't he? In British broadcasting, and it's just such a shameful fall from grace, isn't it? And it is sad.
It is sad.
That this is the way that it's ended.
But he's destroyed his life as a result. I mean, he just absolutely has, and that's a pretty severe punishment, isn't it? So we shall have to see what happens to sentencing in September, isn't it? So we'll find out then.
Well, a BBC spokesperson has said that they were made aware in confidence that Huw Edwards had been arrested on suspicion of serious offences and released on bail while the police continued their investigation. At the time, no charges had been brought against Mr Edwards, and the BBC had also been made aware of a significant risk to his health. In the end, at the point of charge, he was no longer an employee of the BBC.